Hi there. I'm Randi Roberts. I am an executive leadership and career life coach, and really happy that you're joining me today to talk about our leadership trajectory journey, which is a term I made up, but I'm going to help you understand it. It's something that has come up a lot with clients recently, in particular, talking about um, getting in the driver's seat of your own career, taking responsibility for it yourself. And it got me really thinking about what are the things that we should keep in mind? What are the things that are important to keep front and center as you're designing your own journey? So let's dive on in. What I really mean by leadership trajectory journey, it's the intentional process of shaping who you become as a leader over time. It's not simply the sequence of roles you hold or titles you earn. It's the deliberate alignment of your values, the impact you want to make, and your leadership experiences and your long term legacy. Rather than allowing circumstances or expectations to dictate your path, the leadership trajectory journey asks you to consciously design the leader you want to be and the difference you want to make. Most executives I work with are extremely good at building successful careers. I'm sure you are. You know how to drive results. You know how to solve problems. You know how to navigate organizations and earn greater responsibility. And because of that, your trajectory can look very impressive from the outside. But there's an important distinction that often gets overlooked. A career journey can grow in two very different ways. One path is reactive. You take opportunities in front of you. You solve the next problem, you accept the next promotion, and 5 years later, you wake up successful, but maybe not entirely sure of how you got where you are. The other path is intentional. And intentional leaders understand that their leadership trajectory will not design itself. They choose to actively shape who they're becoming as a leader, the impact that they want to have, and the experiences they want their career to create. So today I want to talk about that second path, designing your leadership trajectory. Now, I mentioned your trajectory will design itself unless you design it. So you may as well. Most executives operate in high demand environments where decisions are constant and opportunities appear quickly. Sound familiar? Without intention, your trajectory becomes defined by external expectations, not your own. Organizational needs, momentum rather than choice. The result is often a strong career that feels slightly disconnected from the life or leadership experience you actually want. And it may be more opportunistic than strategic, which may sound off, but strategy is just about making choices, and an intentional journey is about holding to them. Intentional leaders pause periodically to ask, where am I headed? Is this the direction I truly want? And am I designing my leadership experience or simply responding to it? Consider who you are beyond title. Titles are temporary, especially if you're in a big organization, you get moved around, companies reorganize, titles change, and your identity as a leader shouldn't depend on them. Your leadership trajectory begins by asking what qualities define me as a leader, what do people experience when they work with me, and what's the impact I'm making on both business and people. The strongest leaders anchor their identity in qualities like strategic thinking, integrity, courage, empathy, and one of my favorites, curiosity. Titles may change, but those qualities become the through line of your leadership story. What are the values that guide your leadership? Values become more important as responsibility grows. In senior leadership roles, you are constantly making decisions that affect strategy and business outcomes, teams, and culture. Your values serve as the internal compass for those decisions. And so, questions intentional leaders ask: what do I stand for as a leader? What principles guide my decisions when things get difficult? And what behaviors will people consistently see from me? Without clear values, leadership decisions become reactive. With clear values, they become grounded and consistent. And that consistency is very important. Have you ever worked with a leader that you thought, I wonder which Joe is going to show up today? The one who's really open and creative, or the one who's not really paying attention and thinking about the next thing? That consistency is important. Another aspect to think about is what's the impact. Another thing to think about is what's the impact you want to have on your business. Many executives spend years focused on operational success. You may be really good at that, but your trajectory design asks a broader question. What's the impact you want your leadership to have? So that may involve building extraordinary teams, transforming how a business operates, developing future leaders, creating cultures of accountability and trust, and leading meaningful innovation. Titles describe your responsibility, but impact defines your purpose and even your legacy. Have you considered how you want your teams to experience you? Leadership is not just what you want to accomplish, but it's also what people experience when they work with you. So consider, when people meet with you, do they feel energized or depleted? Do they feel clear or confused? Do they feel trusted or managed? Think about if any of those resonate for you with leaders you've worked with. Intentional leaders think about the emotional and cultural footprint they create. Your trajectory is not only about where you go, it's about how people experience you along the way. Now, here's a provocative question. What's the leadership legacy you want to lead? What's the leadership legacy you want to leave? Legacy can sound like a really distant concept, but it begins now. It's never too early to start thinking about it. Legacy is the accumulation of your daily leadership decisions. So ask yourself what you want people to say about your leadership years from now. What leaders do you hope to develop? What culture do you want to contribute to? Think about the impact other leaders have made on you. What is it about them that built their legacy that you still think of as having made a difference for you at an important moment in your career? The most fulfilled leaders I know don't measure success solely by position or compensation. They measure it by the lasting impact they leave behind. So here's a couple of questions that have come in regards to designing your leadership trajectory. Let's see. What if the trajectory I want doesn't align with the path my company expects for me? Oh, this is a good one because this comes up a lot. You may have been thinking this along the time that I've been talking. This tension is really common at senior levels, and leaders really have to consider here their alignment, their drivers, what's fulfilling to them, and then think about whether it's right for the company. And honestly, you have to think about yourself first, because the company, with no negative intent, is thinking about the company. So you're the one that has to think about yourself. And there's a couple of possibilities. Maybe the alignment is there, but it needs clarification. So initiating a strategic career conversation about what you want may result in you finding that the gap is not that big. The thing that I will warn you about is that when you start to think about this question, when you start paying attention to that inner voice, it can feel bigger. So just be prepared that, a little bit of exploration is a mixed bag. I encourage it, but just be ready that it may feel bigger once you start uh, pressing on it. One of the other things, aside from potential alignment that may exist, you may find that you're partially aligned. So your trajectory may fit what the organization needs or wants, but it may be in a different scope, it may be in a different role, or it may be in a different timeline. So getting clear on those things is important. And then the third possibility is you may really be misaligned, which is where the question came from. So, if you find that your ideal trajectory can't exist within the current organization, you may really want to think about whether the trajectory is right for you. And if so, being true to that, you may have to seek out a different environment. It could be a different company, it could be a different industry. The goal really is for you to be able to make a conscious choice rather than just passively accept your situation or what somebody else tells you is the path you should take. Another question I got is, how often should leaders step back and reassess their trajectory? This is a really good question. There's no right answer to it, but my sense is at least annually. I do this for myself annually as I'm considering at this phase what my business, what I want my business to look and feel like. So I think at least annually is important. But what I would say is be in the listening mode for when that issue starts to talk, when you start to become aware of it, because there's nothing magic about annually. I would say that's just an at least. Another question I got, let's see. What practical steps can I take tomorrow to start designing my trajectory more intentionally? This is a good one. So, a couple of steps. I would say it's worth sitting down and doing some journaling or capturing your thoughts, or, a stream of consciousness into some recorded device is helpful for you. You do you, but really start thinking about, like, what's a one paragraph leadership vision you have for yourself? What kind of leader you want to be? How do you want to be thought of in 5 years, whatever time frame is motivating to you? So sort of start to get that picture in your mind so you know what you're moving towards. I also recommend identifying what are some of your leadership values. 3 is a great number. Like, what principles guide your leadership decisions? And they may be your personal values and they may differ a little bit. But getting clear on those things that are drivers for you can really give you that vision, but also help build that consistency that we talked about is so important. Thinking about the impact that you want to have is also really valuable. And some of these questions may resonate for you more than others, but the impact you want to have is important. And you can ask yourself questions like, through my leadership, I want to create this. I want to develop people in this way, whatever it is that speaks to you. And then you can identify one area of leadership focus. It might be something you think is particularly important that you want to lean into. It might be something that you think is a gap, but just pick one. You can't do everything. You may only have one, but if you have a lot of them, take one at a time. If nothing's a priority, you won't know which way to go, and you won't be likely to make any progress. So pick the one that either feels most important to you or most engaging to you, and take some movement towards that. Figure out an action plan that would address that, so that in the next 30 days, I'm going to challenge you. It might be mentoring someone. It might be engaging in a strategic conversation with your boss or a mentor so that you can get the feedback that you're seeking. It might be changing a leadership behavior. So thinking about it in the big picture and then bringing it down to an action you can take in the next 30 days is really helpful. And then with anything that you do, consider it after the fact, measure it, see if it's accomplishing what you want to accomplish. And then you either keep doing it. Well, if it's working, you do keep doing it. But you may want to add the next thing as well. Okay, that's it for the questions that have come through. So, in summary, a leadership trajectory is not simply the collection of roles you hold over time. It's the story of the leader that you become. It's your values and your impact. It's the legacy you leave behind. The executives who feel most fulfilled in their careers are not necessarily the ones who climbed the farthest or the fastest. They're the ones who made intentional choices along the way. Oftentimes they paused and asked who they want to become as a leader, what kind of impact they want their leadership to create, and what choices today can move me in that direction. And those are not one-time questions. Those are things you ask and ask again over time, because don't expect yourself to get it perfect. Set the course and then make corrections along the way. Your leadership trajectory will not design itself. Either you get in the driver's seat or it happens by accident. But when you take ownership of it, when you align your values and your leadership identity and the impact you want to make, you begin to build something much more meaningful than success, much more lasting than whatever it is you've accomplished on paper. You begin to build a leadership journey that you genuinely want to live. So, giving you a lot to think about, because you've given me a lot to think about. If you have anything you want to add, if this prompts any questions that you want to discuss, feel free to be in touch. I love nothing more than engaging in the ideas you all stimulate for me and thoughts I share as a result. So thanks very much. I will see you soon.